And we're back. It's COMP125. It's week 11, part 2 of our broadcast here at Centennial, and we're doing JavaScript for client-side web development, that course, COMP125. All right, we just talked about jQuery, and again, I have to give shout-outs to the people at JetBrains. If I go to JetBrains here, people who are watching remotely. JetBrains, they're the studio that produces the professional level tools that we use and across different IDEs, like I said before. I totally recommend things like WebStorm. I think it's awesome. If you're from a professional studio perspective, you can't go wrong with using it. If I go to IDE, I can go to WebStorm. And if you go to JetBrains Student, because you guys are students, right? Then what it does is there's professional level tools for students. And so I highly recommend, if you want to check out JetBrains and use WebStorm instead of Visual Studio Code, you can totally do that. It's not going to hurt you. Still an editor, right? But the great thing is, has lots of support, tons of documentation, and you know what? It's used in the industry, just like Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code, Brackets, WebStorm, other ones out there, very, very popular tools to use alongside Visual Studio, Dreamweaver, and others. Okay, there's tons of stuff out there that, depending on what you are, remember I talked about this before, there's no one size fits all, okay? Everybody has to be comfortable with what tools they're using. This is just another tool in your toolbox. Okay, please don't look at Visual Studio Code as the only one. It's not. There's tons of them, right? Today I'm doing Visual Studio Code. Tomorrow I'm going to use Atom. Maybe that's going to be the better one, or something else that I like to use. I'm comfortable with Visual Studio Code. Doesn't mean that you have to use Visual Studio Code. I've never limited you to using. You could stay with Visual Studio if you wanted to, and it's totally fine, right? And it's nice. All right, let's get back to this. So we've talked about jQuery a little bit, and I've talked about code hinting with typings. What about the code hinting for jQuery UI, right? Because we have jQuery, but jQuery UI is another library, and I want to access that one too. Could I find typing support for that library? So if I go typings, and if I go jQuery UI, or search, sorry, jQuery UI, is there such a thing? And a lot of times there is. Here it is, jQuery UI, right? So I have to include a different typings for different libraries. And this is how it's normally done. Okay, so I do the same thing. So here's for jQuery UI. If I was going to use that library, let's assume that I am, right? So I'm going to say typings install, right? And then DT for the definitely typed library, the source, right? And then tilde jQuery UI. I can spell jQuery properly, jQuery UI, right? And then -G for global, -S for save, right? And what this is going to do is going to go out there and grab everything. It says jQuery UI, no dependencies. That's good. And then what it's doing for us is, if you look at typings, now the typings folder includes in our globals both jQuery and definition for jQuery and jQuery UI. That's all it's doing for us, right? And it's putting the definitions in this reference path methodology here, for jQuery and jQuery UI, inside of an index.d.ts file. But it's transparent to us. We're just users. We're not going to do anything with these things, right? So how does it work? Again, I recommend whenever you add a new typing, close down the file, app.js that you're using, and then reopen it, because it caches, right? And if I want to do something with jQuery UI that's not here, and again, let's go to the documentation for jQuery UI for a second. Here's jQuery UI. And if I go to the interface itself, and if I look at doing something like a dialog, right? In here, if I want to look at the API documentation for my dialog, here's dialog, my dialog class for my options, methods, right? And you can see that these are all the different UI that I can do. Here's my UI core, right? Here's all the stuff that I can do, and you can give you examples of what this does, right? How to make it all work, right? But remember, I want to just use some kind of method for my dialog, right? So here's hide, position. These are all, by the way, built into jQuery UI. jQuery UI is a library that's built on top of jQuery. Let's go back a couple steps. Dialog class, right? There it is. Here's an example of how to use it. So here's my selector. I want to make a dialog. That's on my selector, right? So for anything that has a class of whatever selector, and then the dialog class is alert, right? And what it's going to do is it's going to pull up a dialog, right? So we should be able to get this code hinting now, right? Because of what we just did. So if I go back to here, and let's say, for example, I want to add a dialog on top of that. So dialog, there it is. And you can see that I'm going to get the code hinting for that. Now, do I want to make a dialog? It tells me there's seven different options. One is the method name, whatever the string is for the dialog. The other one is, here's my jQuery dialog options, if I want that. And then there's the option literal, right? And we're going to go in there, but you can see that I'm getting, all I want to show you is I'm not going to do a dialog right now. So if I just do one of these, it's just like by itself, right? And if I press save, and if I go back to here, and we re-enable everything, so I go light server, and I go back to here, you can see that I'm going to get some weird stuff going on. Look, hello world, but hello world is a dialog now, right? Totally different than when I got before. You can see how it pops away, right? So it does do it. Is it doing what we want it to do? Hell no, right? We don't want this to do it like this, but we're going to go into this in more detail. What I'm showing you is that we're getting code hinting. That's the most important piece. Code hinting for what we're doing as opposed to no code hinting. And you can get this for any library. Hint, hint, I'm going to be introducing new libraries starting next week, right? Other ones, other than jQuery, right? So what am I going to do? Well, I want to use typings to get code hinting for those libraries. So that way I'm not blind when I do my coding. Yes? No. Okay, so because I got to give you some, access to some API, other APIs. We're going to use some other APIs, right? An example of that would be if I wanted to understand how to use something like Google's mapping API, right? Google Maps, right? Or something else. If I want to use something on a download that I want to use, or Angular would be a library, a front-end library that I want to get code hinting from. Again, I could use typings to get Angular support, right? Or something else. Let's say, for example, you know what? I really like, for whatever reason, I like their old Jquery Mobile, right? Library, right? Jquery Mobile. First, I'd have to download it. Let's download Jquery Mobile too. Why not? We won't use it right now, but we'll download it. I want to get it. Notice there's a custom download link. I can also get the latest stable one. Custom download tells me I can download or link to a CDN, right? Remember, we talked about the CDN. The latest branch is 1.45. I can also choose other ones, right? So this is the one I want, 1.45 of Jquery Mobile. Let's search for it with Bower, right? And typings. Let's see if we can get that. So clear. So I'll say Bower, search, Jquery. I'm guessing it's going to be mobile, like this, and then press enter. And we have a bunch of Jquery Mobiles. There it is, the first one, Jquery Mobile. And remember, we want to get version that says 1.4.5, and we also want to have a minified version we want to use, right? So let's just put that in there. So clear. So clear. Jquery-mobile is fine. So clear. So Bower install Jquery-mobile, and then S, right? Then boom, it grabs Jquery Mobile 1.4.5, right? Same version. Grabbed a bunch of other stuff, right? Like Jquery 1.10.2, right? And it says, oh man, what do you want to do? Unable to find a suitable version for Jquery, please choose one by typing one of the numbers below. This is really cool. So I can go Jquery 1.10.2, which resolved to blah, blah. Jquery 2.2.4, which resolved to da, right? And if I go with 3, right, by the way, 2.2.4 and press enter, then it says, unable to find a suitable version for Jquery UI, please choose one by typing one of the following numbers, right? Which one do I want? And I want to definitely find the Jquery UI version 12. It also has one that's Jquery UI, blah, 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 which resolved to this and is required by Jquery Mobile 1.4.5. I need both Jquery UI and Jquery. It's one built at the top of the other one, like I talked about, right? So let's use number 2. Let's see what it does. See how it messes up my files. Okay, let's see how this messes up. Just saying, right? So if I go back to here, and this is a more complicated installation. If I go back to scripts, lib, I can see that I got Jquery UI, Jquery, font awesome, blah, blah, blah. And, oh man, where's my Jquery Mobile? Should be in there, right? Well, one thing to note is that, remember, we need sometimes to update this. And sometimes this doesn't show up as what it should look. Let's take a look at Let's take a look at the desktop version, the OS version, and see what I get, because this can really mess you up in terms of what it looks like inside. Oh, jQuery, jQuery hash chain, jQuery mobile, jQuery UI, jQuery UI tabs, a bunch of stuff in here. Here's jQuery UI. This is the one I want. That's good. Nothing changed there. jQuery UI tabs. That's another kind of version 1.9.1 of jQuery. And then there's jQuery Mobile. jQuery Mobile, and inside there you can see that there is under JS, you should have a minified version of jQuery Mobile, right, that we want to use. We don't just want to use all this, because this is like core, blah, 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 right? And we want a minified version of it so we can use jQuery Mobile. Here's external, and there's all the stuff we can use from there. CSS related to our things that we want to put together. But inside of our JS package, we got to be able to use jQuery Mobile from in here, right? So we have to find a jQuery mobile.min.js that we want to use in here. And do you see it anywhere? Just saying, right? Mobile.js, right? jQuery.mobile.js. But where's the minified version? Right? I'm not saying that you can't do it this way, right? But sometimes jQuery bower isn't the only solution. Like, I talked about this, right? Like, remember, it's not one size fits all with the web. So let's use jQuery-mobile, and we'll use the actual library, right, for jQuery Mobile, right? jQuery Mobile does things in a different way, and you have to follow the documentation. So I'm not going to use it for now. I'm not even going to put it into our document. I just wanted to install it so you can see it, right? Next one is, if I want to get support for jQuery Mobile, then I need to use typings. So typings, search, jQuery-mobile, enter, and no results found. Yes?
Why would you want the mobile?
A mobile version. jQuery mobile.tt. So let's do that. So I'll tell you in a second. Clear, typings, install, jQuery, nope, GT, definitely typed, jQuery mobile, -G, -S, and bam, jQuery mobile comes into play, and now we get support for jQuery mobile. I want you to see the workflow. That's why I'm doing this. I want you to see the workflow for installing other packages on top of everything. For us to use jQuery mobile, we need to package it alongside or after jQuery UI. jQuery UI, so jQuery UI, and then jQuery Mobile. If you look at the jQuery Mobile site, right, and what we get with our package, if I was going to download this, another thing to note too, if I go back here, if I click on latest stable version, this one, it's going to download this package. Let's put this inside of our web. So I'm going to go to desktop. We're going to go to COMP125, and I'm going to put it here so you can see it. Save. And if I look at this version of jQuery Mobile, inside the version of jQuery Mobile by hand, you get all this, right? Now, there's my minified version that I want, right? This is what I really want, but I want to get this with Bower. I don't want to get it the way we had it already, right? So here's the stuff I get, right? And if you look at the documentation, this is really important for this too, right? If you look through to see how this works, right? If I go to API documentation to get started, right? How do I make this work? So I want to get some examples of my API documentation. So here it is. And these are all the things I can do, add back. But I want to get an example of how this stuff works, right? Because remember, whenever we're doing, this is jQuery itself. That's not what I wanted. I want to get an example of how this works. Here's my demo. There we go. And if I go jQuery 1.45 demos, you can see that there's some demos here that gives us an example of what it looks like. So jQuery Mobile is not the mobile version of jQuery. jQuery Mobile gives you mobile compatible pages, so it looks and feels like a mobile app. You can make a mobile app with jQuery Mobile, right? It's a hybrid app that works across platform. So Android, iOS, whatever. It looks and feels like a real app, but really it's not. It's just it's an HTML app, right? But it's really cool, and it tells you how to do stuff. If you go to introduction here, right, with the demos, you can see how you put things together, and it gives you an example of some pages and everything else. But the thing to note is that each page has a data role. For example, of page, you can put different, if I look at a page example, here's an example of a page, and it tells you how to download and install. So jQuery, and then there's jQuery Mobile version right here, .min.js, and then it tells you how to put the meta tag for everything else and how to install jQuery Mobile. We're not going to do jQuery Mobile. I'm just showing you jQuery Mobile, by the way. It's a little older, like I said. And I probably would use something else other than jQuery Mobile these days, but it's a perfectly fine solution if you want to come up with a mock-up, a really cool mock-up for an app, and you don't want to spend time learning iOS or Android, but you have an idea, use jQuery Mobile. Yes?
Do you have an example that jQuery?
That I have an example of? No, but I've done it before. I've used it. I've done it many times.
No, I said not exactly.
There's no app that you can't tell. There's no app that you can kind of go to and go, hey, this is jQuery Mobile that I know of. But I wanted to point out to you that that's how you do it. Okay, so again, I've just gone through it again to give you an additional an understanding of how the workflow. Workflow is look it up with Bower. Does it exist? Yes. Download and install it. Did I install the right version of jQuery Mobile? Probably not. Right? I'll tell you right now. And if I was to look it up again, if I go Bower, search jQuery Mobile, one word, right? Maybe I'm going to find another version of it, right? Which is a different version. This is GK jQuery Mobile. That's not it. jQuery Mobile editable list view. That's not it either. Power search. I was more successful with jQuery dash mobile. I was more successful, right? And I got one of the first links. I took the first link down, and there's the jQuery. Oh, this is the one I want, the minified version, right? .min. And people build these ones with Bower so that way I can get the one I want. I want the minified version. So let's grab this one, jQuery Mobile -min. And I can add this one into my Bower dependencies as well. So Bower install. We can delete the other one, jQuery -mobile -min -save. Right? And bam, it's going to grab everything I need. It's going to check out. Oh, look, is this the right version? 1.3.2, 1.4.5 is the normal one. This is wrong, right? And I want you to think about this. If you're getting weird versions of a library, like that's why I don't use jQuery Mobile anymore, it's not supported properly. It's not being supported properly in here. And it could be that here's the mobile dist. Let's see if this is the one, mobile-dist. So we'll try this one. So and we'll get rid of the other ones. So mobile-dist -s. That in there. See if we're getting the right version. 1.5 by 1, right? This is like a new test version, right? Which one you want to use? It's going to get my dependencies. I definitely want to use number 4, right? And I definitely use number 2, and it's going to download everything again, right? The dist version, distribution version of 1.5.1, which, by the way, if you notice on the website, if I go to jQuery Mobile, right? Here's jQuery Mobile for a second. On the site, it shows the latest version is 1.4.5, right? So what am I getting, an experimental version? Because I can't get it from here. This is the latest, right? But 1.5.1, it's not even here. Like, you can't even get it from here. Build my download. So it's not here. So this is the wrong one. So I've got a bunch of wrong ones. How do I remove them again? Uninstall, right? It's pretty simple. So I go here, and if I go through the history, if I look at my files show a history of stuff that I've installed with Bower. My bower.json file shows me all these things. I want to get rid of these things. The manual way is to go through these things here and remove them, right? Remove them completely from my scripts library by hand, by just clicking here and removing. That's kind of weird, right? I don't recommend that. But you can remove them automatically with your terminal commands, right? So if I go clear, and if I go something like, Bower uninstall jQuery -mobile -min, and let's say I want to do the other one too, jQuery -mobile -dist, right, and -s. If everything is good, it'll uninstall both those ones fine. Right? So you can install and uninstall stuff. That's the great thing about Bower. Bower, you don't have to worry about it. Go back, download, install. And if you have something you want to grab up there, so if I want to look for a Bower, if you're not sure what it is and you can't find for Bower, You can always go up here and say Bower install jQuery Mobile, right? And then you'll see that there's a Stack Overflow for this, right? And it says jQuery Mobile-Bower. This is the version that maybe we want, right? So maybe this is the one we want, jQuery Mobile-Bower. And this is like, we have to look at the time frame, October 14th, 2013. That's pretty good, because jQuery Mobile has been out for a while, right? So maybe it's this one. Let's try this one out. So again, by the way, this one works as well, but we just did this. Let's try this out. So Bower install jQuery -mobile Bower SS. Let's see what that does for us. La la la. It's going to give us which one we want. Again, this is neat. And I got to look and see which one it is. So it says I want 4 because it's the 2.2.4. That's one we're using. And we're done. Oh, this might be better. Let's take a look and see what we've got in here. If I go to my scripts and I go to lib and I go jQuery Mobile, oh, look at what it gave me. What nice stuff it gave me. Look, dist and min, right? And why? Because, oh, let's go back here. And the reason why it's not showing this is because I have to upload my stuff. But if I go back to my files here, I know this is stuff that I'm going through over and over again, guys, but this is the only way we have to learn, by repetition. So here's jQuery Mobile. There's jQuery Mobile Bower, and you can see that underneath there you have a JS library, JS file, and my minified version, which is what I want, right? So this is what I want here. And this is the one I want. And then I got the code hinting, and I'm good to go, which means I can get rid of jQuery-mobile from my installations. Let's go and do that. So I go Bower uninstall jQuery-mobile by itself, -s for save, get rid of that. All those things out, right? And if I go back to my files, this is out of date. Sometimes you have to restart my project, but I only have, notice that I have this, jQuery Mobile 1.4.5, and the left in the UI and jQuery. Those are the 3 libraries, right? So now, and by the way, like I said, sometimes you have to close up Visual Studio Code and reopen it. And unfortunately, we have that bug right now with Visual Studio Code. They have to load it up again. So File, Open. It'll fix the next version. And if I go here and open this up, you can see that I'm going to get the latest versions. Right, there it is. jQuery, oh, still didn't give it to me. There it is. And then I can always download, grab this, jQuery Mobile-Bower under the JS. So I'm going to grab this path. So copy path. And then when I go into my index, if I wanted to put it in, I have to put it underneath UI and underneath jQuery, put it in here. So scripts. Just showing you how to install it again. And then let's paste that path. And get rid of everything other than scripts in here. There we go. And now we have our minified version. Cool, cool. And let's run the light server again. Light bash server, so we can see that. Yay, it still runs, no problem. And if I go back to here, to my app.js, and if I want to run something with jQuery Mobile, I can get it from here as well. I'm not going to do that right now, but things to take away from today. And again, it's just an intro. Tomorrow or the next day, we're going to do more jQuery. All we're focusing on is in jQuery from here on in. But I wanted to introduce things like, hey, how do I get jQuery? Different ways of getting it. And there's 3 different ways. If I was going to ask you on a test, what are the 3 ways? 3 ways are CDN, Content Delivery Network. You can download it manually if you really want to, right? Bah, I don't recommend that one at all because maintenance is a nightmare, right? Or Bower or some other dependency manager with NPM. Actually, there's 4 ways. Some kind of dependency manager, Bower, NPM. If you're using Visual Studio, NuGet, right, would be the dependency manager. First way is CDN for production. Second way is download manually. Third way is some kind of dependency manager, front-end dependency manager like Bower, NPM, or NuGet. All right, those are 3 ways. All right, that's the first thing. So how do I install it? How do I support it? Because I'm getting 0 code hinting with most IDs. Typings would be the way to do it nowadays. That's the latest version of it. And by the way, That's this, right? And then 3 months from now, it's going to be something else. Just going to put it out there, right? Remember that Wednesday I'm going to give you your lab, which will be due Friday, and then next week we'll do the test. So there's no test this week, no quiz. It'll be next week. Guys, thank you so much. See you Wednesday.
What about